Hello everybody, my name is Bill. Welcome back to the NCAA Football '07 Dynasty Mode Explanation Series. I know it's been a while, I've been kind of busy trying to get a new job and all. And I finally got one. I started Monday. Hooray. But in the meantime, I'm still going to try to get this. I finally got back around to this. If you remember last time we did this, we finished the Pac-10. Well, we did the entire Pac-10. And I see some up-and-comers. I see a good little three-way race right now. And there is like some potential down here that could be tapped given the right recruits and right coaching strategies. And now we head off over into the SEC. And current day times, Alabama and 13 other teams. Only in this time period we only have 12, and Alabama is not as good as they are in today's land. As you can see, today we will be talking about Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. A couple of these teams have been doing really good the past few years. South Carolina, they were doing real good this year, and then they just hit a downslide. Georgia underperformed this year, and Kentucky and Vanderbilt are Kentucky and Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt finished their non-conference record undefeated, so could be some potential lying in there. But let us start off with the division-winning Florida Gators. They finished the year 10-4. Their best win came in Week 13 against Florida State, 45-42, and their worst loss came back in Week 6 against Ole Miss. That's by a final score of 21-14, so they lost by a touchdown against a conference opponent, which, they got lucky being able to get a few more wins, because if they had suffered one more loss, Tennessee probably would have faced Auburn in the conference championship. They're great on offense and rushing defense, but surprisingly, they need to improve on discipline, and I'll tell you why, because of their head coach, Tim Tebow. And funny enough, when I was renaming a couple of people on there, I renamed the quarterback Tim Tebow as well. So yeah, Tim Tebow is coaching Tim Tebow. I think I broke something here. But anyway, Tim Tebow has been the guy in Gainesville. Gators finished with an impressive 10-4 record, in which they beat Tennessee yet again to claim the SEC East. They did it off an amazing offense that had 412.8 yards per game, 38.9 points per game, had 46 passing touchdowns, allowed 127.9 yards per game on the ground, and 25.7 points per game. The thing I'm surprised, though, is how undisciplined Tebow's team is. 91 penalties for 774 yards isn't what Tebow's team should be. Terry McDowell, their top receiver, had 80 receptions for 999 yards, only 11 less catches than penalties, and 225 more yards. Tim Tebow will get them calmed down, I believe, and hopefully win the SEC championship next year over Auburn. Now we go from Florida to Tennessee, where they finished the year 10-3, with their best win, in my opinion, coming in the AT&T Cotton Bowl against Colorado 35-6, and their worst loss coming back in Week 4, the beginning of this series, against Florida 49-42. They are great on offense, especially scoring. They're good on defense, and they force turnovers. But their problem is the same as Florida. They need to be disciplined. The Vols did really well this year. A 10-3 record completed by a drumming of Colorado, a tough Big 12 team that could have pushed them to their limit. They had the success on offense with 433.8 yards per game and scoring 39.6 points per game, the most in the SEC. They also have a top defense, allowing only 317.6 yards per game. Craig Bolyek needs to calm these guys down, though, and not be as hyped up as he is, because he is hyper all the time. He was one of my coworkers at FedEx, and trust me, that guy, to my knowledge, does not calm down whatsoever. 106 penalties for 833 yards is not something a top team should be doing. Forcing 32 turnovers helps out in minimizing it, but when your top receiver Nate Slater has only 65 catches for 1,185 yards, which is 41 less penalties and 352 more yards, you need to calm down a bit. You need to tone down your guys from like that 11-12 that you are down to a 4 or 5, you know? Now we go from Tennessee to South Carolina, who finished the year 7-6, with their best win being the Chick-fil-A Bowl against Miami, 35-21, which came after them beating Hawaii the game prior. But they wouldn't have to be in the position of possibly missing a bowl game if it wasn't for their Week 4 loss at me, in McNary Central, 245-0. They still had a great passing offense. They just don't need to face McNary Central. I just put that down because of the fact that they're bad in all the other categories because of that matchup. And the Gamecocks started off wonderfully. Heading into Week 4 against McNary Central, they were undefeated and number 2 in the nation, behind the Bobcats. They were absolutely humiliated on national TV and lost 5 out of their next 7 before Hawaii. They maintained having the best passing attack in the SEC at 257 yards per game. But as long as head coach Steve Spurrier doesn't have Bobcats on the schedule next year, they should be able to win the SEC. And I'm going to fix that on my little script here because I am an idiot at times. Okay. But yeah, they were doing real well. Like I said. And then they faced us, and then they just go into this big old tail spiral. There we go. But yeah, they were undefeated heading to our matchup, and they lost bad. And I can go ahead and show you the little scorecard real quick. No, I'm not ready in the off season. Yeah, as you can see, 60, 45, 70, and 70. Peyton just went off in this game for 10 receptions for 213 yards and 5 touchdowns. Brooks probably got a fumble recovery for me trying to pitch the ball, for me trying to relearn the controls yet again. Because at times when I don't play this game, I forget the controls. And when I'm also helping my nephew on the NCAA Football 05, trying to get him the cheat pennants, so that way the game's easier for him because he's 8. It's kind of hard going from one game to another where there's different controls. But anyways, we're now going from South Carolina to Georgia, who finished 4-8, which is highly surprising for me. Their best win coming in Week 2 against Arizona State, 24-21. Their worst loss being Week 10 against Florida, 50-15. They got great rushing defense, a scoring defense. They lead the conference in sacks, red zone defense, and also having a very disciplined team. Because I forgot to post in the script, so let's just kill more time in the episode by go ahead and I don't want to look at McNary Central stats. I already know McNary Central stats. We've already discussed McNary Central's stats episodes ago. But yeah, for penalties, 66 penalties for 538 yards. Guess, yeah, I didn't touch it down on to here. Here, I was waiting for it to load. Yes, we're in the SEC. They just need to improve on their scoring, though. The Bulldogs underperformed this year as they were hoping to cap off another year in the Jake Swift era, but ended up with a 4-8 record. Defense did really well, allowing only 125.7 yards per game on the ground, allowing 23.9 points per game, and taking down quarterbacks 42 times. They also held their opponents to 69% in the red zone. Nice. But they just need to score themselves, though. As 22.6 points per game, and won't win you many games in the tough SEC, where a lot of teams have very good defenses, and if you don't have a good offense, or at least a better defense, you gotta have at least some sort of good offense to back it up. I think they can find their groove and make it to a bowl game next year. That's just my opinion, though. Now we go from Georgia to Kentucky, the 5th state in a row that we have here, finishing the year 3-9, with their best win coming in Week 12 against Vanderbilt, 41-16, and their worst loss came Week 3 against Alabama, 47-6. They have a great passing offense, and they're great at red zone field goals. I had to find something else to put on there for them. They just need to improve on their scoring defense and their rushing offense. Tim Couch is having about as good of a time coaching the Wildcats as he was quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. That 3-9 record was your kicker, and Chris Bryant made 11 field goals in the red zone, which helped y'all score some points. They also threw for 203.9 yards per game. They need rushing yards, in my opinion, to help balance it out a bit. But yeah, your kicker made 11 red zone field goals, allowing 415 points in total. Yeah, I think y'all should have traded some of those field goals for touchdowns. When you look at South Carolina, and they have 557. The only problem is that 245 of them were given up against the number 1 team in the country. So, there's that. But yeah, they need to improve on their rushing game to help balance out that passing attack. That's 117.5 yards per game on the ground won't help you win in the SEC, as well as allowing 34.5 points per game. Couch needs to fix this, otherwise he will be on the couch. And now we will wrap this up with Vanderbilt, the only non-state team in the SEC East, in which they are inside Tennessee. They finished the year 5-7. Their best win came in Week 10 against Ball State. I chose a team that was in a bowl game, and plus this kind of helps my arcness for why Ball State made a bowl game when they could have just put Georgia in. They got the same record. But yeah, Week 10 at Ball State, they won at 42-30. The worst loss came the next week against Florida, 58-21. They have great discipline and hold on to the ball. They just need to improve on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Vandy did well this year, all things considered. Tied for second in the conference with 18 turnovers, having the second fewest penalties and penalty yards at 70 penalties per 532 yards. They need to play better football, though, as having 330.6 yards per game on offense is going to help you win the SEC. The especially when you have 164 yards per game through the air. Defensively, they allowed 393.1 yards per game, which sucks when you go against some high-scoring offenses like Florida, like Tennessee, like Auburn, like Arkansas, Alabama, you know. Like, when you don't have a good defense, it really helps. It really doesn't help you when it comes to trying to get the game going your way. Touch up on that, and they could replace Ball State in that bowl game next year, which honestly I think they should have, because they beat them 5-7, 42-30, and Ball State lost their game 34-10. You throw Vandy in there, it might be a different story. Just saying, But yeah, and that's it for the east side of the SEC. Next time when I get around to this, we'll be talking about the west side. Then after that, the Sun Belt and the WAC. We have 3 more off-season videos to go as we talk about the top 2 teams, even though nowadays they're not really that much of a top team. The top team in the SEC, which is not a top team in this dynasty, a team that had a really good quarterback for a few years, a team that had another really good quarterback for like a couple of years, and a team that produced a quarterback that became known as the Patriots, the Brady Slayer. So, see one. Yeah, 4 of these schools produced a quarterback that's either really good at playing quarterback in the NFL or might end up in the Hall of Fame. And the other 2 produced running backs that will be forever known in history. At least college football history. Although Alabama produced the best running back the Titans have drafted since Eddie George and Derrick Henry. Coming from a Titans fan, myself. But anyways, that is it for this episode, and I will see you all next time.